Hey everyone, it's John with National Sports Entertainment, NSE, and I wanted to go into tonight's bet. The games we're playing tonight, the basketball games, it's going to be college and NBA, and there are particular games that I like a lot more than others. So some are narrative based, but a lot of these games are metric based. So I'll start with the metric based ones. The first one that is a metric based game that I'm picking 100% off metrics here is going to be a Spurs Thunder. And I will show this again because I've shown it quite often. But you see the Thunder here are 20 and 13 against the spread, and the Spurs are 14 and 19. Now, the reason that is important is, as I've showed before, if you haven't seen my videos, there's a particular margin, historical margin, that all teams typically fall under. There might be an outlier or two, but you can see as far as covering the spread. Now, this is this year. If you go back, you will see that there's usually an outlier or two, but it's always going to go between the high 30s and low 60s. Sometimes it'll span into the mid 60s, but it's usually not going to drop below about 37 on the low end as far as teams covering the spread. So knowing that, what we've been doing all year, and this is what's come through the most for us, is when we see teams like Portland and Sacramento, and we've seen teams like Miami, Dallas, Lakers, we look at that and we understand, okay, well, nobody's really ever finished 34, right? So I've been liking the Heat lately. And that's just essentially a big metric. Now, a lot of you already know that. So in this case, not that 20 and 13 is a ridiculous record, or starting 21 and 13 would be infathomable. It's not that that's the case. It's just that the metric over time is on our side, that the Spurs are going to cover, and ultimately the Thunder aren't going to continue at a pace where they're headed to the mid-60s. So in this occasion, I like the Spurs. It's a simple metric play, and I like them to cover the Thunder. Now, again, we were completely wiped off of YouTube. So what I wanted to do here is kind of just basically show everybody that's new what we're going to be doing going forward. So Spurs cover, Thunder is my play. Okay. And whatever a unit is fine. Whatever you decide a unit is. Now, say that was not to happen, then there would be another play that's 2 units. Okay. And that's the system we've been running, and so that's one I like a lot here. But right now the spread's at 7 points. I like them to cover that 7 points. If you want to buy down to 6.5, that's completely up to you. But I do like that one there. Now, some of these games I like as narrative games. For example, we have the Knicks Dallas, and you look at both sides, and again, Dallas horrible against the spread. Not that they can't lose, but horrible against the spread. Knicks got JB. So you might be thinking, okay, well, he's like kind of hometown hero. That he got pummeled at home. Now he's coming home where he's from. He gives Luka a good time, and not a good time, you know what I mean. He gives him a good match and maybe wins, right? Definitely possible. It's on NBA TV. He's going to get cheered for the most part. That being said, they made a point of getting him, quote, injured. When those things happen, I don't think it's a coincidence. As I said before, I think they need. It's his first year on the Knicks, and he just got a giant deal. This guy needs to, in my opinion, have a couple games where they're almost like a rite of passage, where he's going to put Luka over. He's going to look good, but he's going to do the job for Luka, just like Luka did the job for Steph. His first year starting with the Knicks, he's not just going to roll through Dallas. So while I could see him looking good in his hometown return, they're not going to just let him win. Now, do the Mavericks cover? Well, I think they do. The reason I think they cover is because of their record against the spread. And the Knicks are a team, I know it's been wiped, that I've been really hot on this year. If you've been following, you probably know. They're a team that I have in the playoffs. It's just kind of obvious the way that they've built this team. Now, them losing on Christmas makes me a little more hesitant, thinking maybe they cover. But these are all first legs. By first leg, what I mean is they are a first level, for whatever you want to call it. And if they're not to come through, we have second legs where there would be 2 units. And that's what we do, is we use metrics with good money management. So going into the most obvious there, to me, are the most obvious ones on the metrics. Now, here's one that I just consider a plain old trap. I love Toronto to cover here. They have about even records against the spread, so that doesn't really matter. But what matters here is Toronto needs this win a lot more to stay relevant in their division, in their conference. And I don't see who's not taking the Clippers, who have been relatively consistent this year, and they're pretty healthy. Wall, it does hurt, but last I checked, Kawhi, George are good. They got Zubac. I don't see why this team should be. Yeah, people are not going to be fading the Clippers, even if it is in Toronto. So the public's going to be all over, in my opinion. The Clippers here probably on the money line, maybe to cover as well. So in this game, I absolutely love the Raptors to cover. I think the Raptors cover that 4.5. Again, also makes me wonder why the Raptors are even favorites to begin with. Again, they do this all the time, and most of these games are the ones where you will see the shenanigans, because most of the public's going to be, in my opinion, in this game specifically, on the Clippers, the better team. So then we move on, and we got a few more games. I wanted to go into the Lakers. Again, a horrible team against the spread. It doesn't always mean that they're going to win. And what I'm not loving is, again, as bad as they are, I don't see people pounding the Magic 3.5. We had the Hornets beating the Lakers because we thought the 3.5 was light, and that was in Los Angeles. So here, I guess I could see them justifying the 3.5. They have even records. I just feel like people are going to continuously pick the Lakers, and when they get their wins, they're going to be in flurries. And I actually think this is one of the ones that they don't win. I don't think they win this game. The games they win is going to be ones where they're giving like 7-8 points and nobody wants to take them. But when they're getting points, they're only giving a couple. Those are going to be ones that I don't think they cover. So despite them having a bad record against the spread, like I said, their record isn't outlandish. Like I believe they're in the low 40s or high 30s. It's not even as bad as the Heat. And because of the trap, I do think Orlando covers the Lakers here. So I'm just putting these out so you can see them too. Now at the top, if you notice, I already have two that I like for college. And I'll go into why I like them. So I just wanted to finish these out first. I don't want to just, like I said in other videos, I don't like to just play certain games. I like to actually pick our spots. For example, we played the Suns-Grizzlies the first game before Christmas and figured that the Grizzlies were going to rout the Suns just because we figured people would still be on the Suns no matter what. And now we got no Booker. So it makes me wonder about the 8 points. A lot of people might be saying that the Grizzlies are going to smash them again. And it makes me kind of like the Suns, to be quite honest. But I've seen them go both ways with these injuries. So this is probably a game we stay away from. And here's a great narrative game. I love the Warriors here. It's probably not a bad one if you really don't like spreads. It's a money line with another pretty confident, safe pick. But I like the spread, and I think they're trying to, as I've been saying all year, they've been trying to draw two teams here. A team without Steph that can't get it done on the road, and then a team that, even though they don't have Steph, they have his presence more. Like you could tell he's kind of more involved. They play smarter, specifically JP, and they get it done at home. So you could see they did terrible on their road stint. And what I noticed is they have something like a 7-game home trip coming up. I think they're going to pull some kind of narrative where they win almost every one of these home games. Again, they want them to look kind of weak just because Steph's out. But I do find it funny that, if you look at these stints, look at the 7 in a row, then 7 on the road. Usually the road trips aren't like that. And you notice it's been back and forth, and then it just kind of started up now. as they're talking about the narrative. 7 games in a row, then 5 on the road. So knowing that, I think, is going to help us a lot. I really like the Warriors here to cover. And, yeah, I know it's the Hornets, and they will spoil ones like we had them spoiling the Lakers. But here, again, I think people are going to just assume anybody can beat Golden State. You're going to have your people who just pick Golden State no matter what. But in this particular case, I do like them to cover. Now, that'll most likely be a leg too, okay? So what I mean by that is, say the Spurs, they're definitely not covering, right? It's just not looking good. Then this is what would be next. It would be Warriors to cover the Hornets. And again, if you've seen all this before like 100 times, I'm sorry. Just for if any new people. And that would be for 2 units, okay? And that's how that would work. But for now, it's just for 1. I just like it to plug in as a second level for any of these that might not go through. So, yeah, that's basically the NBA ones that jumped out at me. I do think the Magic win that little trap, if you will, against the Lakers. They cover that. I do think the Raptors, another trap, cover that. I think the Mavs cover because they're bad against the spread and they're going against an injured JB. They're going to push that. Spurs, I like to cover the Thunder, and the Warriors to cover the Hornets. Now, looking at the other games, there are obviously about 9 or 10. We're playing 6. There's a couple I looked at. Now, I will actually definitely have a video out for the Kings Nuggets if we are to play that game. So what I wanted to focus on more is make sure I didn't miss any early games. And I looked at the 76ers game. I want to stay away from that game as I do the Hawks game. Pacers are very, very weird as far as it's really like a coin flip. And I really like to make it as, for me, I like to make it as where I'm picking my spot and I'm getting the absolute best metrics I can. I don't like to just say, oh, it'd be fun to play this game, let's play it. So I'm staying away from Suns, Grizz. I'm staying away from Sixers, Wizards, and I'm staying away from Hawks, Pacers. As I always say, if you have a question on those games, just let me know, and I'll give you my opinion. And for now, I'm not gonna lie, I do like in this game just because they've been doing it all year long. I do like the Kings. I think they cover this spread. Again, normally I would, when you have a discrepancy like this, when it's 19-12 versus 14-18, not that it's something crazy, but typically I will go with the team. I'll favor the team that's worse against the spread. But in this case, I do think it's a great spoil game. The Nuggets don't need this win. I think they want to keep the division relatively close. And I think a lot of the public's going to be on Denver. So the Sacramento cover I like, but I'll be putting out a video. Because again, and in my Discord, I'll be putting information out. It all depends on how the early games go. But for the early games, yeah, leg 1 or level 1, whatever you want to call them, I do like the covers for Orlando. The Raptors here, it looks like a complete trap. And the Spurs over the Thunder. Now, one that I did notice, and it doesn't hurt to play, it's only going to be a level 1. They just keep moving the line like they're begging us to take Houston. It's moved, and at this point, I want to lock it before it just moves to like 16. So Boston buying a half point because they love clipping people. Boston minus 14. Okay, so that 14.5. I'm not saying it's definitely going to happen, but we have predicted exact outcomes in the past because of unusual movement happened the other night. So the Warriors game, the over-under was 233, and they moved it to 232.5 or something. It was just a weird movement. Of course, it finished at 232, so they love their Mason numbers. So with this game, I do like buying it down to 14 points exactly, if you're not already getting 14. So, but I do think way more people are just going to take those points. People are probably going to tease those points. Don't forget, Vegas likes teaser killers, parlay killers, etc. So your parlay killer would be the Kings, who everyone's going to take the Nuggets in a straight-up match, in my opinion. And then the teaser killers would probably be somebody taking the Lakers plus 10, right? Somebody getting the Celtics. The Rockets plus 21.5, whatever the case may be. I'm just trying to go over my logic. I know a lot of you guys understand how it works, but I'm also trying to explain to new people. But yeah, so those are our plays. Like I said, for any second levels, it's simply if a first level falls through, like the Celtics don't cover the 14, we plop in the Warriors cover. And it's as simple as that. So obviously some of these games are going on simultaneously, but we will be able to play all of them. Now, 2 college games I like, and it's simply because of metrics that have not failed. And the college games have a lot more of these teams, which is great, that are just really sticking out. So the first one I like here, if you look at Northwestern State, they are 9-2 against the spread. Will not hold, has never in history of college, especially about halfway into a season. So even though Texas A&M is equally impressive against the spread, they're not quite as good. I love in this particular case, and always go with the ESPN closing spread. That is like the Associated Press that they use here. But you see how Northwestern State's at 81.8. That's not going to hold. None of these teams are. You might have one team finish in the high 70s or something like that. But so I love Texas A&M here, and it's a 7:00 game, so that'll be a second level. Now, obviously, you might be asking, well, we haven't done any first levels yet. Well, don't forget, I have a lot of existing first levels going on right now where we had, for example, we had the Nuggets covering the Suns. They didn't cover them, so that moves to a leg 2. And people played some games yesterday, so there are some on a second level. If this is your first time watching and playing, if you're going to tail, then obviously this is just the first level for 1 unit. But if it's not, then you could play it as a second, of course. So here I do like Texas A&M. Make it easier. Covers. And again, this is just simply metrics. We do our best with college. For me personally, this is actually going to be a leg 2 because a second level, because of that Denver loss the other day. So that means it'll be for 2 units and not 1 unit. And I'll show you how the third levels work and all that. But like I said, I've made a lot of these videos going into my system before, so I don't want to bore people that have already seen it. And the last game I like, last college game, fits a great metric. It's basically the Northwestern reversed. We're fading Northwestern because of their record against the spread. In this case, I like Notre Dame because they're only 2-10 against the spread. Also doesn't hold. So I think they cover Jacksonville here. So I like Notre Dame to cover. You can see they're at 8. Of course, if you're going to get a better line, obviously take it. That's always going to be up to you. If you're getting a worse line, typically I like to match it up to ESPN's. As I said, it's like the Associated Press for whatever reason. So again, all these are essentially for 1, except I do like Northwestern State, A&M covering Northwestern State, and Notre Dame, to be quite honest. And then the Warriors as potential leg 2s. And I'll go more into it as we start closing out all these sequences and these all start winning and we're picking up units. I'll be able to go into the rhyme and reason a lot better. But I want to get our plays out. It's about 8 plays I think we have tonight, and we're rolling into some bowl games and football Thursday, football Saturday. So I wanted to get all these out for today. And, they shut us down, but we're going to start it up again. And I appreciate everybody for the love, the support. So take care and happy earnings.